Boy, that is really interesting. I never knew that about VA loans.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us right now, we're talking right now about the top 10 questions that veterans ask about VA loans. So right here, this is a real common one. First of all, what is the VA lending limit?
In most areas of the United States, it's about 417,000. However, in higher cost areas like in and around Washington, D.C., Northern California, Alaska, Guam, Hawaii, it can get all the way up to $1 million.
$1 million on a VA loan.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, well, there's another little gem that most people aren't aware of.
That's exactly right. But generally speaking, it's $417,000, which is called the conforming limit. And in most areas around the country, that's pretty much what it is.
Here's something that we don't have written right here, but I mean, there's a couple forms they need to bring if they're gonna get their VA loan, right? There's the what is it, the DD 214?
Yeah, it's called the DD 214, and it is the last piece of paper that a veteran gets when they exit the military. Basically, it shows who they are, where they entered from, their duration of service, their character of discharge, which means honorable or medical or general under honorable conditions, things like that. 99.9% of all veterans know where that DD 214 piece of paper is because they realize how important that it is.
Right. If they've lost it or it's been destroyed, can it be replaced?
Oh yeah, easily. There's several ways to go at it. Most DD 214s are on file at the National Archives in the St. Louis, Missouri area.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay, we get this one a lot. I've used my VA once. Is that it? Am I done, or can I use it again?
Oh my goodness, you can use it over and over and over.
Is there any limit to the number of times?
No limit whatsoever. Yeah, I did a loan last month for a gentleman that had used it 5 times.
5 times he uses
Absolutely.
VA eligibility.
Absolutely.
All right, now what do you need to know if you're going to use it over and over? I mean, does it have to, you have to pay off one before you use it the next time, or can they be concurrent, or how does that work?
Not necessarily. In order to use it again, the first thing that the VA wants to know is, hey, what happened to the last loan? Did you sell it? Did you pay it off? Do you still live in it? Believe it or not, there's no law that says that a mortgage company or a title company or a closing attorney needs to let the VA know that a house was sold with a VA loan on it. If you don't let the VA know, they think you still live in it. It could have been 20 years ago. Nobody ever tells them. Yeah. But that's the whole point of filling out the 26-1880, which is the request for a certificate of eligibility. And we ask the veteran to fill out that form, and we send that into the VA, and they grant his eligibility.
By the way, that's the other form you need along with the DD 214.
That's exactly
Certificate
right.
of eligibility.
Well, no. The form is called the 26-1880, and that form is available just by going on Google and typing 26-1880. That is the form that the veteran fills out. That is the request. You send that into the VA, and they check their records, and they send back a certificate of eligibility. Here's a little tip. If the veteran served in the military after 1971 and has never used his VA eligibility to purchase a home, the mortgage company can log on to the VA portal and put the veteran's exact name as the military knew him, his date of birth and social, and about 50% of the time you can get that certificate of eligibility right online.
Right on the spot.
Right on the spot.
No kidding.
Yep.
Okay, so that's changed. That's something that's new since I've written my last VA loan.
The VA is trying to get automated, and they're doing it very slowly, but they are making an attempt to do it.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So now, is there a down payment required with a VA loan?
Never a down payment required on a VA loan.
So we're talking 100% financing.
Always 100%.
And with that, there's no caveats. There's no special things you need to know. It just is.
That's exactly right. Now, here's a tip on a VA loan. If you want to go above the VA limit for your area, and for the most of the people that are listening, that's $417,000. You can go above that. the veteran would just, whatever is above $417,000, the veteran would pay 25% of that overage. So here's a good example. If $417,000 is your lending limit in your geographic area and you want to buy a house that's $517,000, that's $100,000 in overage. The veteran would pay $25,000 or 25% of that overage. So,
And the VA answers the other 75% of the overage?
that's exactly right.
Ding! Didn't know that either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I financed a house 2 months ago for a veteran. It was $720,000. Yeah, so he paid the overage and he was very happy.
Wow.
Yeah.
All sorts of great little secrets here. Now, we know that on most conventional types of loans that there is PMI or private mortgage insurance. Do you have that on a VA loan?
Never on a VA loan. The VA does not believe in charging the veteran on a monthly basis of PMI or private mortgage insurance. However, they do charge a one-time funding fee upfront on a VA loan. The very first time that a veteran uses his eligibility, his or her eligibility to purchase a home, the VA charges 2.15% as a VA funding fee. Now, they do that in lieu of requiring a down payment or in lieu of having any PMI on the loan.
And you just said something that's key. That's only the first time they use their eligibility.
That's correct. Then they charge a 3.3% funding fee. The VA allows the lender and the veteran to put that funding fee on top of the loan, so you don't have to pay it. Here's a good example. First time usage, you're buying a house for $100,000. The actual loan amount will be $102,150.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, that's how that works. And I get the
So
question.
you pay the funding fee, but you finance it for you.
Absolutely. Now, there is one way around that, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we get into disability.
Okay, very good. By the way, if you're considering a VA loan, you want to know how you can get more information about that. Our number's right at the bottom of the screen. You can just give us a call there.
Yeah, so give us a call right now. It doesn't cost a penny to talk, and we'll be happy to answer all of your questions.
All right, well, let's move on to the next of the top 10 questions that we have here. Okay, now here's something you just alluded to a moment ago. So let's say I've got a VA disability. I was injured. Does this actually help me with a VA loan?
Absolutely. If the VA rates you 10% or more disabled, or some people call it service-connected disability, then the VA waives that entire funding fee.
The whole thing?
The whole thing. It is absolutely waived.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
So
a huge savings.
Yeah, then the interest over the long haul, I mean, that can really add up.
Oh, it's huge. And here's the other thing. In today's world of the military, 70% of all veterans are awarded of disability of 10% or more.
70%?
Absolutely. So the majority of veterans today that are seeking a VA loan do have a disability of at least 10%. In the old days, you had to ask for it. You had to step up and say, I need to get evaluated. Today, they're going to do it whether you want or not. They're going to give everybody a physical before they leave and offer this physical to determine that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so the default is that you will get it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Boy, that's a great thing to
Plus,
know.
on top of that, the VA disability gets you a tax-free check every single month from the military for the rest of your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, not that we want to be disabled,
That's
but if we
exactly
are,
right.
there's obvious benefits now that come along with that.
Tremendous benefits when it comes to the VA mortgage.
Okay, so, this is an interesting time in the economy, and so this is a very common thing that we see here. Somebody says, look, I once lost my home to a VA foreclosure. Am I done? Do they write me off, or can I use my VA eligibility again?
That's a great question, and one that comes in a lot. The answer is you can use your VA eligibility again. Here's how the VA looks at that, and the VA has a big heart, by the way. They're going to look at that and say, okay, we lost X number of dollars on that home, and they never forget. So they're going to look back in their records. They're going to say we lost X number of dollars on that home, and they're going to subtract that from the VA eligibility that the veteran has, and they will allow him to then purchase another home.
Okay, so let's put this like some real numbers on this.
Yeah.
So somebody had a $250,000 house. Market got loopy, and the VA lost $50,000. They took the house back, they foreclosed, they got the house, they sold it for $200,000. And $250,000 was owed, so there's a $50,000 shortfall. So if the veteran now would come along and say, hey, my VA eligibility is whatever the number is, $200,000. VA says, "Well, lend you more money, but we're going to deduct the 50 that we got beat on before. So now your eligibility is $150,000."
Yeah, there's a way that they calculate that, but basically, yes, whatever they lost, using the formula that they use, they're going to deduct that, and they will allow the veteran to do it all over again to buy another home.
Wow, very, very good to know.
Here's something to remember. On all veteran loans that were written prior to 1988, they were assumable by anybody without qualification.
I remember that.
And so as a result of that, a lot of veterans didn't understand when they allowed somebody to take over their payments, that was okay, but their eligibility was still tied to that home.
To that loan.
So if they allowed somebody else to take over the payments in that home and went through a closing, they thought they were released from that, but they were released from the loan, but not the responsibility and their eligibility. And so a lot of homes were foreclosed and the veteran didn't even know it.
Right. Okay. So, and they changed that in 1988. They were no longer non-qualifying assumables.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Now a veteran can allow another veteran to take over his VA loan, but today not without a written release of liability from the VA and a release and an approval by his current lender.
Okay, well, look at this one here. Suppose that I want to buy a multi-family property. Can I use the VA eligibility for this, or is that for single-family properties only?
Absolutely. You can use your VA to buy up to a fourplex, but here's the tip. The veteran must move into one of those units.
Okay.
You have to occupy.
It's owner-occupied.
Absolutely.
At least one of the units.
Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
And otherwise, they treat it exactly the same. The process is the same in terms of appraisal, anything else.
Absolutely the same.
It's just not an investment, quote, an investment property.
That's exactly right. That the tip is that you have to live in it.
Okay. All right, well, look at this one. My fiancée and I want to buy our first home using my VA. So we're not married, but we want to use the VA for our first home together. Is this okay?
No, it's not. The VA is very strict on that. The only additional person that can be on a VA loan other than the veteran or the active service member is a spouse. The only way around that would be another person with military benefits. In other words, two people
two
that
veterans.
Are both veterans.
They each have a VA eligibility.
That's correct. That question comes up a lot now with a lot of soldiers returning from Iraq and Afghanistan. They're ready to get married and buy that house, but the VA will not allow a person that is not married on that loan.
Okay, well, I'm sure by now you're probably thinking of some questions you might want to ask that would pertain to your own VA situation. So our number is right at the bottom of the screen. Just give us a jingle. We'll help you out.
Yeah, it doesn't cost a penny to talk, so give us a call right now. We'll be happy to answer all of your questions.
Okay, our next question here. I've had a bankruptcy. This is obviously a very common thing that comes up these days in this environment. So I had a bankruptcy. Can I still use my VA eligibility?
Great question. There are two different kinds of bankruptcy. A Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which most people know is a complete liquidation where the judge, with the stroke of a pen, wiped out all the debts of the person. The VA still has a heart in that regard, but they make you wait 2 years before you can get another mortgage of any type.
Okay, so it needs to be discharged for 2 years. Correct. And then you can get another VA loan. Correct.
But now here's a tip for you. Most people today are taking what's called Chapter 13, which is the reorganization loan. Most people don't realize this, but once you're just 12 months into the Chapter 13, you don't have to finish it. When you're 12 months into the bankruptcy, if you can get permission from the court, and if you can get a printout from the court that shows all your payments were made on time, the VA will allow us to do a home loan for you while you're in bankruptcy.
No kidding.
Absolutely.
All right. There's another real little piece of buried treasure in this
Yep.
conversation.
As a VA tidbit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I don't want to buy a house right now, but I want to get some land and build a house later. Can I use my VA to buy that raw land?
No, you cannot. The VA is used specifically to buy your primary residence. It has to be a home ready for you to move into. Now, a home meaning a stick-built home, as we call it in the industry, or it can be a manufactured home, but it has to be your primary residence that is ready for you to move into. They do not allow raw land.
Okay. And again, don't confuse primary residence with single family home because, as we spoke about before, it could be anywhere from 1 to 4 units as long as you're living in one of the units.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
The VA loan is designed only for the veteran to move into that home as their primary residence.
Okay, now I know this was the top 10 questions asked about VA loans, but we've had a couple bonus questions that came in, and I frankly I like the top 10 title. So, but let's go ahead with a couple additional questions because frankly we get them kind of a lot here, and they have to do with credit. So first one here, my wife has bad credit. Can I just exclude her from the loan?
Absolutely. That's what's called a non-purchasing spouse. We can exclude the wife from the loan. However, if the wife has any payments in just her name, for example, a car payment, credit cards, student loans, anything like that that are only in her name, those minimum monthly payments must be put on the loan app and figured in with the debt-to-income ratio.
So in this case, she's not on the loan, she's a non-purchasing spouse, but her debts count against me as the borrower.
Absolutely. The VA wants the true and total picture on this family in terms of what payments they actually have.
Well, that could really skew my ability to buy a house then.
Absolutely, because what it looks like initially is we're having to put the wife's payments on there and we can't count her income. But here's the tip. You can count enough of her income just to offset the payments that she has.
Ah, okay.
A lot of people don't realize this, but you can do that.
All right, so we have a non-purchasing spouse. We have to count her debts, but I can count enough of her income to offset those debts so it doesn't hurt me.
That's exactly right. So long as she has either a full-time job or a steady part-time job for the last 24 months. If those two items are line up, then yes, we can count just enough of her income.
Can I use more of her income to offset my own debt?
No, sir, not a penny more if she's not included on it.
Okay.
Because if you include her on it, then the underwriter is going to want to look at her credit scores.
Absolutely.
And in today's world, when a husband and wife are buying a home, they're going to look at whoever has the lowest of the two credit scores.
Yep. Okay, very good. That's a good question and frankly applies to a lot of folks who are looking to get something today. And here's the next bonus question that also has to do with credit. What is the minimum credit score required for a VA loan?
In today's world, most investors are looking for a middle credit score of 620.
Okay.
Now, what I mean by middle credit score is all mortgage people today will pull what's called a tri-merge credit report. They're going to download everything from Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. Each one of those three applies a credit score to that file. The numeric middle score is the one that we judge that file by. And in today's world, for the most part, it is 620 has become pretty much the standard.
Okay. What if somebody doesn't have a 620 score? I mean, are they just out of luck, like for good, or are there some ways that that they can, remedy that, or there's some steps that they can take to increase that credit score?
That's a great question. Oftentimes they'll come in with a 605 or a 610, and we're so very close. And so what we can do is look very carefully and closely at this credit report. Oftentimes it's as simple as paying one credit card down below the 50% threshold. What I mean by that is that if you pay the balance down to 50% of the line of credit, oftentimes when you rescore that credit report, you'll get a bounce in those scores and could very well get you above the 620. The credit report rewards you for keeping your credit card balances below the 50% threshold. And sometimes it just takes paying some of those to accomplish that.
All right, so that's a real easy way to affect. And then how long does it take to actually see that effort reflected in your credit score?
Well, if you're patient, you wait till the end of the month. That will happen. If you're impatient and you're up against a closing deadline, then you can do what's called a rapid rescore, and it costs about $30 per bureau, and ask the credit bureau to rescore that on the spot, and it usually takes 3 or 4 working days.
Wow. Okay, there's another
So,
great insider secret.
Yeah, it is definitely possible. The other thing too that I want to point out on credit reports, better than 80% of all credit reports today have some sort of error or inaccurate information on there. Oftentimes, when we show a credit report to a client, many times they look at things and say, that's not mine. It's just simply not mine. So sometimes when we can remove things from a credit report that actually don't belong to that veteran, there will be credit score increases to be had right there.
Wow. Okay, so very important. Don't just take the credit score when it comes back as carved in stone. You really want to review that credit report and make sure that everything on there belongs to you and, frankly, is current and relevant.
Oh, absolutely.
Very good.
Thanks so much, Ralph, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I hope that we've been helpful with answering the top 10 questions that people ask. And I just want everybody to know out there that we are here. We're available to help you. You'll see our telephone number on this screen. And also to all of you veterans and active military people, thank you so much for serving our country. Hope to hear from you soon.